Yo, what's going on, gamers? It's around 6 days a week, and just 4 days ago, Season 6 kicked off with a fresh wipe, and a lot of things changed. Well, at the same time, a lot of things didn't change. So this video is going to go over the good changes, the bad changes, and of course the ugly, which, if you have been paying attention to the Dark and Darker Discord, you probably already know what that is. Alright, before I waste more time, let's jump straight into it. The first good change, in my opinion, is no trade or marketplace access for the first 2 weeks of wipe. It sounds like you all agree with this too, well, at least in my community, with 83% saying they prefer this game mode, or the amount of time, which again is the first 2 weeks of wipe, or would like it even longer. Do know this channel does have a lot of sweats. I think people who seek out videos on the latest news around Dark and Darker, they're gonna be kind of obsessed with the game. And of course, the poll that we ran last month showed that the majority of our viewers have 1,000+ hours. So it kind of makes sense that most of us enjoy the challenge of self-found. A big reason why I personally enjoy this, or actually two, is that it makes player engagements feel that much more risky. And I like that. I think it should be high risk. You should be very strategic on what fights you take, since you can't just jump back into the market and buy your lab crafted kits all over again. And two, it actually makes looting general items in the dungeon feel rewarding. Last wipe, at least in HR, I would just skip chests completely. I'd either run to players or the bosses and do nothing else in the dungeon. Now, I've got a reason to check every corner, because I could get an upgrade. I will say though, no trade or marketplace access disproportionately negatively affects some builds way more than others. For example, Curse Mastery Warlock, you have to get plus magic healing on all your pieces to make it viable in HR, which is pretty unrealistic for the current self-found drop rates. But honestly, that's more of a stat scaling issue than a marketplace issue. There's no reason why some classes should rely on flat stats like True Fizz, Add Magic Healing so heavily. Next, we have the PvE mode on the good list, which gives you the option to queue with 2 other players into a lobby that has no player damage or player collision at all. This is by far a massive win. A massive win because I have barely even played it and barely even knew that it existed. It has not impacted my gameplay whatsoever. PvE mode, also known as Adventure mode, is giving new players the opportunity to actually learn the basics of the game. For veteran players, this means more player retention, so more PvP, more funding for the game, so more content, and of course, and overall, a more positive atmosphere since we're separating the 0-hour players with the 1,000+. Next, number 3 on the good, new/reworked enemies. This season, we have 7 new enemies, which I believe are all reserved to the Inferno layer. And of course, we have a rework on the currently existing Nightmare sub-bosses, which is pretty cool. They all seem to have a new move that they do. There is some bad associated with this, but I'm gonna leave that for the bad section. But just know that the addition of new monsters, to me, it's always good. It's technically some new content in the game, but as far as explorable content, this is basically it. Again, it's a good thing, but I do have some bad, which I'll speak on later. Next, number 4 on the good, we have a new merchant and some new quests or questing system. If you didn't notice, the quests have kind of been accelerated. 1, there's fewer requirements, and 2, they're giving rewards for the quests in terms of crafting earlier than they have in the past. If you complete this year's quest, you can craft up to Cobalt equipment, which didn't really come on the first set of quests. And we have the new Cockatrice Nest merchant to work towards, which eventually will lead to giving your players some basic rewards, which I believe are gems. Again, I think that's a good thing, just another thing to grind towards that gives you some reward over time. Now, there have been a lot of complaints regarding the drop rates around quest items, and that was a bug. So it sounds like we should be getting the wolf pelts and the feathers at a much higher drop rate, especially in HR. Again, it was going to be a negative because it took way too long to grind for the actual quest progression, but since it was bugged and now it's fixed, I'm considering it as part of the good list. Number 5 on the list, we have difficulty scale drops. So yes, you will get better loot if you actually play the more difficult game modes. So not just a difficulty content ramp, we now have a reward content ramp that's built into the game, which is good. And you really feel it. If you're playing HR right now, the loot is crazy. I honestly don't know if it's bugged or not, but I am looting everything. I'm telling you, just go into HR and start looting. Even the floor skeletons that I didn't touch at all last wipe are dropping just absolute bis. I do hope this actually motivates players to at least try out HR for the first time, knowing about these drops. But I do imagine that's going to change when the marketplace does open up. It might just go back to the old Seal Club and HR. Next, utility availability. A big good. Not only do we have new utility to use, there's also more utility found in the dungeon, just off of floor loot and from crates. And we also have alchemy. Well, usable alchemy. If you just pick one single herb, you could get 3 potions out of it. It is crazy. Everyone's gonna have access to good utility now. It's not just gonna be something gated by how much gold you make in the game. You can just pick some flowers, get some potions. Easy peasy. Next, number 7 on the good list, we have the return of the Expressman, which to me is only a W. I know some people are a little bit worried about the economy getting too inflated, but again, that's a marketplace issue. I don't think that's an Expressman issue. And hey, one big thing about this that is often overlooked is last season, if you finally found that quest item you've been grinding for, absolutely grinding for, that just meant that your run ends there. Now with the Expressman, you could just continue playing, drop down a level, pop it to the Expressman, and your adventure goes on. This game could always use more reasons to dive deeper. W move Ironmace, good work with this one. And number 8, this one will be very controversial, but just hear me out. HR boss summoning, I think, is a good move. For those who don't know, you now need specific totems or craftable items to summon the HR bosses. This new mechanic is creating more POIs and dungeon interactions, which are always great for the game. Players always need more reasons to explore the map opposed to just running to the boss room. But this is also where the bad list begins. Number 1 on the bad list, HR boss summoning. The design of HR boss summoning, overall good, but the implementation and execution, overall bad. Right now, the drop rates are way too low. I think even after the update is just a bit too low, and it's making it so players are spending way more time trying to summon the boss than actually fight it. To give some context here, I spent 7 hours with A-Bud, Heel, and Goose just hunting Wendigos, and we were only able to fight the Wyvern twice. So 2 fights over 7 hours, that's pretty ridiculous. Additionally, all of the HR bosses in the Crypts and Inferno are not able to be summoned at all, which is a bit odd since Wyvern arguably drops the best artifacts, so it doesn't really seem like a progression-based decision. So yeah, I like the fact that the bosses are summonable now, but it's just a bit too grindy to actually get the boss fights. I think the casual players are going to suffer heavily from this later into the wipe, if nothing changes. Next on the bad list, we have the new gear rolls, or more so the return of the old gear roll system. You can now get plus all attributes on your chest and legs, though it's taken away from the jewelry, and you can get move speed rolls, as well as regular interaction and magic interaction. I do have a pretty hot take on this one. I actually do not mind strong gear. I think, maybe aside from move speed might be a little too much, but in regards to having higher attribute rolls, I really don't mind that. The only issue is when market returns, kits will be absolutely insane. It's either you're going to be in the best gear possible, or you're going to have nothing in comparison. So right now, it's actually okay. The gear rolls, aside maybe from move speed, are alright. Once Marketplace returns though, the average player will get demolished, and Marketplace meta building will once again be required to enjoy the game. Now there actually was a change to unique gear rolls as well, so it no longer rolls 5 separate stats, instead it rolls 1 stat but up to 4x the amount, which I actually think is a pretty cool system. You can have some pretty insane builds that are specific in one area, aside of course from the plus all attributes. Maybe that should be the one roll that doesn't exist on unique gear. But once again, once Marketplace does come out, we're going to return to just, hey, has this kit been lab crafted using the Marketplace, or will you get stomped? I'm being a little bit too dramatic there, but hey, you get my point. Now, number 3 on the bad, there's still no real adventure feel, too dark and darker. The game needs some more points of interest, needs some more dungeon interactables, needs more endgame challenges, and just explorable content in general. I feel like for the last 2 wipes, we've been kind of following that carrot on the stick in regards to the new map, new weapons, and new perks and skills for the existing classes. Yes, new wipes always feel fun, but that's because our one goal of filling up our stashes with gold and gear, it gets refreshed. Once that's done, which will happen pretty quick, like 3 or 4 weeks, the game loop becomes quite repetitive, which I've talked about in some other videos, so I won't bore you with it here. But honestly, in actual new content for this wipe, we really just got 2 new utility items and 7 new mobs, which leads us into the next point. Cheesing is far too optimal. It still is, for 2 years. Now, I'm not saying every single mob should be an elaborate fight, but some of the cheese that's been around for 2+ years could be used on all these new mobs, and makes it so you could completely ignore all their fun new mechanics. And finally, number 5 on the bed, there's still no melee combat fixes. This is very much not just a latency issue. I know a lot of people talk about desync when it comes to melee combat. That's always going to exist in an online game. Sometimes there's just no way around that. But melee hitboxes themselves are quite scuffed. The logic behind collision and overlapping hitboxes seems like it needs some desperate work. I do hope this is something that becomes more prioritized since it comes up in just about every single dev Q&A or devcast. But unfortunately is always phrased as something that they plan to address or plan to work on. Alright, we've done the good, we've done the bad. Now what about the ugly? And this one, you probably already know what I'm going to talk about if you've been following the Discord for the last 4 days. Ironmace just released a seasonal pack worth $9 that you could purchase as a quote-unquote DLC. This seasonal pack gives you potions, gives you bandages, block picks, 5 gold bags, additional shared stash, additional seasonal character slot, and more marketplace listing slots, as well as a skin. Well, a torch skin that's kind of cool. I like it. This, by definition, is predatory pay to win, something they swear that they would avoid. The pay to win side is very, very minor. Again, I don't think anyone's going to be looking at this and being like, hey, this is going to decide the outcome of my fights. But what bothers me about this is the fact that it is quite predatory. Dark and Darker devs have basically designed a system around gold storage and storage itself being a major bottleneck in the game. It's almost frustrating to a point. Players always complain about this. The devs know about this too. It's a huge talking point in the community, and that's why gold storage items like the golden chests are always going to be the most valuable item in any wipe. And that's what terrifies me the most about this paid DLC. Instead of taking the steps to design a better storage system, something that's more convenient and enjoyable to use, they're going to sell it to us. And it's only going to be temporary too. The bags, stash tabs, character slot, and marketplace slots are just for the season. The only thing that you keep is the skin. Listen, I want to support Ironmace. Server costs and hiring devs is expensive, but just keep things cosmetic. I mean, I would gladly pay $9 or even more for a battle pass progression system built into the blue shards. Euthyphro has a brilliant idea for this, and it creates player engagement whether you buy the battle pass or not. I'll link it in the description below. So yeah, this is the one real ugly move that happened this wipe in regards to player relations with Ironmace. I just hope they listen to the backlash and this won't lead to some even more intense pay to win or predatory systems. Since I love the game, thousands and thousands of people love it as well, and we want to support you, Ironmace, just not this way. Give us a dwarf skin and you guys are going to be billionaires. Alright gamers, thank you for watching. I'm probably streaming Dark and Darker right now on Twitch since there are Twitch drops going on, and you can get some free cosmetics if you just watch me in the background. I'll see you in the next video. Hope you're having a good wipe so far.